They called American pot roast dog food for humans before the first bite. But what happens when the ugly brown gravy hides meat so tender it falls apart under a fork? How many other American classics have been judged by headlines instead of flavor? One taste can expose a stubborn truth. The food they mocked may be the very thing that makes them miss America when they leave. The Roast Awakening. A plate of American pot roast can lose a European audience before the first bite. The beef looks soft, the carrots have lost their edges, and the gravy covers everything like a Midwestern aunt determined to send nobody home hungry. From a distance, some people joke that it resembles dog food for humans. Then the fork goes in, the meat falls apart, and the joke suddenly needs legal representation.
Woo! Looks beautiful. Baby, come see. Oh my gosh, so pretty. Oh my god, I made pot roast. This is definitely not done yet because I think it's supposed to like fall apart. I'm an American. Danny, come see my American citizenship test.
Ooh, wow. That is a hell of a pot roast.
Does it smell good? It's not ready yet.
Yes.
It smells good. I have to flip it.
Yes.
So I have to figure it out a way to.
Did you season it? Yeah.
Yes, baby, I seasoned it.
You want help? I'll hold it with the thing on the other side.
No, I don't think it's one person job. Oh, we don't have tools like this to turn it. Halfway turn. I think that's it. How well can you turn it? This is so much meat. We're gonna eat it for a week at least. You know that? Okay.
Some people go to Indiana for football games, but I came for pot roast. I decided to take the train from Chicago to South Bend for a little day trip because Perkins dropped a new pot roast menu and I needed to investigate. They came out with 5 new pot roast menu items. I ordered the pot roast melt and the pot roast breakfast skillet, but they also have a classic pot roast, barbecue pot roast burger, and loaded pot roast tachos. The pot roast melt was the perfect mix of buttery, crispy, and savory, and the breakfast skillet was warm, cheesy, and loaded with tender pot roast. Now, Perkins might be my new favorite excuse for a random day trip.
That sudden reversal reveals something much larger about the way American food is judged. During the 2026 World Cup, European visitors arrived with an image of America shaped by headlines, fast food stereotypes, and television arguments. What they found at tables was warmer, generous portions, patient cooking, regional pride, and dishes made to welcome people. Pot roast may be the clearest example because it refuses to audition for approval. It simply sits there brown and humble, knowing exactly what the first bite will do. European cooking has always understood the value of slow-cooked beef and patient kitchens. Lyon has Boeuf Bourguignon, Bavaria has Sauerbraten, and Britain has its Sunday roast tradition. Those dishes deserve their reputation, yet American pot roast offers a different kind of pleasure. French braises often lean on wine and careful sauce work. German versions bring a sharper balance of acidity, spice, and old regional character. British roasts preserve clearer boundaries between meat, potatoes, vegetables, and gravy. The American version lets everything share a pot until carrots taste of beef, potatoes drink the broth, and onions melt into the sauce. That is precisely where America begins to win the entire argument. Pot roast turns a tougher, less glamorous cut into meat that separates under a fork with almost no resistance. It never pretends to be delicate, because its strength comes from abundance, tenderness, and knowing somebody planned dinner before you arrived. A restaurant plate in Paris may resemble a designed piece of architecture. A pot roast in Kansas City looks like the house already saved you a seat, The dish also exposes how badly American cuisine is often misunderstood. People abroad hear American food and picture drive-through bags, neon cheese, or portions designed as public stunts. They rarely picture the heavy Dutch oven, the slow Sunday kitchen, or the family recipe written on a stained index card. Yet visitors often remember that quieter America. Food without ceremony, open-hearted hospitality, and flavors that make an unfamiliar place feel familiar. For travelers moving between stadiums, airports, and unfamiliar streets, that meal can become surprisingly emotional. It asks for no cultural password before making everyone at the table feel welcome. It simply arrives steaming, feeds the whole table, and makes America feel less like a headline and more like home. By the second bite, the gravy no longer looks messy. It looks necessary. By the third, the comparison to pet food has quietly left the building. Pot roast succeeds because it reflects a great American culinary instinct. Take something ordinary, give it time, serve it generously, and let comfort do the convincing. America's smoke spell. American brisket is the rare food that can make a blackened slab look more exciting than a polished steakhouse plate. The outside appears almost too dark. The edges look serious enough to file taxes, and yet one clean slice reveals a pink smoke ring, shining juices and meat that bends before it breaks. That dramatic contrast is exactly why so many visitors remember it long after the meal. This time, the surprise is not tenderness alone, it is the way America turns smoke into flavor, a craft, and almost a public language. Across Europe, great roast traditions already exist. In London, a Sunday roast celebrates rosy beef, crisp potatoes, Yorkshire pudding, and gravy. In Bavaria, Schweinebraten leans into crackling, dark sauce, and dumplings. In Prague, svíčková wraps tender beef in a creamy vegetable sauce. Those dishes are deeply rooted and beautifully made, but Central Texas barbecue follows a completely different instinct. Instead of protecting meat from smoke, it invites smoke to stay all day. Pitmasters commonly cook brisket between about 225 and 275 degrees Fahrenheit, often for 10 to 16 hours depending on the size and method. A full packer brisket may begin around 10 to 15 pounds, then lose roughly a third of its weight as fat renders and moisture escapes. That is not a quick dinner pretending to be rustic. It is controlled patience, measured in firewood, airflow, and the stubborn refusal to rush lunch. Central Texas often relies on post oak for a clean, steady smoke, while hickory is common farther east, proving that even the firewood carries a regional accent. The addictive part begins with the bark, the dark crust guarding every slice. Salt, pepper, rendered fat, and wood smoke build a concentrated flavor that is savory, peppery, and slightly bitter in the most satisfying way. Inside, collagen slowly melts into gelatin, so the meat becomes rich and silky without needing a complicated sauce. A proper slice should hold together when lifted, then surrender with a gentle pull. Americans somehow turned almost falling apart into an engineering standard, and Texans will inspect that bend with the seriousness normally reserved for checking a truck's suspension. That process also explains why barbecue feels so different from restaurant dining in Paris, Milan, or Vienna. European fine dining often rewards precision on the plate, while American barbecue rewards endurance before the plate even exists. The dining room may have paper trays, plastic cups, and a line stretching toward the door, yet behind that casual setting sits a level of discipline that would make a Swiss watch nervous. During World Cup travel, that combination can rewrite expectations quickly. Many visitors arrive expecting American food to mean speed, convenience, and oversized portions. Brisket reveals the opposite side of the country. A meal that takes half a day, depends on regional knowledge, and treats strangers like neighbors once the tray reaches the table. That lingering flavor becomes difficult to forget because the entire experience stays with you. Smoke clings to the meat, the clothes, and probably someone's rental car, but nobody seems in a hurry to complain. America did not merely cook beef over fire, it built a ritual around waiting, sharing, and making something humble taste unforgettable. The syrup plot, Europe spent centuries teaching breakfast and dinner to remain in their proper rooms, and then America kicked down the hallway door with fried chicken in one hand and a waffle in the other. At first glance, chicken and waffles feels like a dare invented after midnight, yet the combination survives because every bite is built around contrast rather than confusion. Belgium gave the world waffles with deep pockets, crisp edges, and a proud place beside sugar, fruit, or cream. Austria perfected schnitzel as a savory main course with lemon and potatoes. Britain keeps fried chicken and breakfast waffles in separate social circles. America looked at those boundaries, shrugged politely, and introduced them at the same table like two relatives who should have met years ago. The addictive quality begins with texture. Fried chicken brings a craggy crust, hot fat, salt, and pepper, while the waffle contributes a toasted surface, a soft center, and tiny reservoirs that catch butter and syrup. Food scientists describe browning through the Maillard reaction, which develops hundreds of aroma compounds when proteins and sugars meet high heat. That chemistry gives both the chicken crust and waffle surface their roasted, nutty flavor, so the pairing feels connected before the syrup even arrives. Then comes the sweet and salty balance, which American kitchens understand with almost suspicious confidence. Salt can sharpen sweetness, fat carries aroma across the tongue, and syrup softens the peppery edge of the crust without erasing it. The brain receives crispness, softness, sweetness, salt, warmth, and richness within seconds. A Belgian waffle alone may behave like a polished soloist, while chicken and waffles turns breakfast into a full marching band that somehow stays on beat. This combination also reflects how American food grows through movement between communities. Its exact origin is debated, although one famous chapter developed in Harlem supper clubs during the 20th century, where late-night diners could order a meal that sat comfortably between dinner and breakfast. That history matters because the dish was never created by a marketing department searching for novelty. It emerged from real eating habits, real neighborhoods, and the practical desire to serve something satisfying at an hour when ordinary menus had already gone to bed. The scale of America's love for chicken helps explain why the idea traveled so easily. USDA food availability data show that per-person chicken supply rose from roughly 28 pounds in 1960 to more than 100 pounds in recent years. Americans did not simply adopt chicken as an affordable protein. They spent decades learning how to fry, season, sauce, smoke, and pair it with nearly anything that looked lonely on a plate. For European visitors traveling during the 2026 World Cup, this dish reveals an American strength that headlines rarely capture. The country is willing to treat culinary rules as suggestions, provided the result tastes better and brings people together. Chicken and waffles does not ask permission from breakfast, dinner, or dessert. It simply proves that America's most memorable food often appears when two familiar ideas stop behaving properly and begin having much more fun. The wing effect. A basket of buffalo wings can turn a clean table into a small crime scene within minutes, yet nobody reaches for an apology. Fingers shine with sauce, napkins disappear faster than defensive linemen, and the final wing is watched with the same suspicion usually reserved for an unattended parking space. Somehow, America made losing your table manners feel like winning. That is the genius hidden inside buffalo wings. The dish turns eating into participation. Vienna has backhandel, a refined tradition of crisp fried chicken commonly served with lemon and potato salad. Lisbon offers charcoal-grilled piri-piri chicken, where chili heat settles into smoky meat. Paris can make roast chicken feel almost ceremonial, especially when golden skin arrives beside potatoes soaked in pan juices. Each tradition deserves respect, although buffalo takes the least glamorous part of the bird and gives it the energy of a stadium entrance. The modern buffalo wing is widely associated with Buffalo, New York, where Anchor Bar began serving wings coated in hot sauce and butter in 1964. Before that transformation, wings were often treated as a secondary cut or used for stock. American cooking saw a bony scrap, handed it a bowl of sauce, and somehow created a national event. That instinct feels wonderfully American because value is discovered through imagination rather than expensive ingredients. Its pull comes from controlled chaos. Hot sauce supplies vinegar and chili, butter rounds the sharp edges, and crisp skin keeps the whole experience from becoming soft or flat. The hand carries aroma directly toward the face before the first bite, while each wing requires turning, dipping, and searching for the best pieces of meat. A knife and fork would make the process cleaner, although they would also remove half the pleasure, rather like attending a baseball game and refusing to cheer. The numbers show how completely this little bar snack entered American culture. For Super Bowl LV weekend in 2024, the National Chicken Council estimated that Americans would eat 1.45 billion chicken wings. Placed end to end, the organization calculated that those wings could stretch between Kansas City and San Francisco about 35 times. Europe has magnificent football food, from bratwurst outside German stadiums to meat pies in Britain, but America managed to turn one appetizer into a nationwide halftime language. That shared ritual matters during the 2026 World Cup. Visitors may arrive expecting American dining to be oversized and impersonal, then find themselves around a crowded table comparing sauces, trading celery sticks, and quietly calculating whether taking the last wing would damage international relations. Heat levels create instant conversation because one person chooses mild, another reaches for garlic parmesan, and somebody always orders the sauce with a warning label as though signing a waiver at Six Flags. Buffalo wings are addictive because they combine flavor with permission. They allow grown adults to eat with their hands, laugh at the mess, and become part of the table immediately. America did not improve the wing by making it elegant. America made it unforgettable by making everyone join in. One pot, 5 worlds. If gumbo ever had to fill out a passport application, it would need extra pages. One spoonful can carry the depth of a French roux, the thickening power of West African okra, the earthy aroma of Choctaw filet powder, the warmth of Spanish seasoning, and the seafood traditions of the Gulf Coast. Europe spent centuries protecting culinary borders, while Louisiana built a dish that invited every border to dinner. That may be gumbo's greatest advantage over many famous European stews. Marseille has bouillabaisse, Budapest has goulash, and Belgium has carbonade flamande. Each dish expresses one place with admirable clarity. Gumbo expresses what happens when several places collide, argue for a while, borrow one another's spices, and eventually produce something richer than any single tradition could have planned. Its flavor arrives in layers rather than all at once. The roux contributes roasted, nutty depth, especially when flour and fat are cooked until they reach the color of an old copper penny. Okra can add body and a gentle vegetal note, while filet powder made from dried sassafras leaves brings a distinctive earthiness. Sausage adds smoke, seafood contributes sweetness, and the so-called holy trinity of onion, celery, and bell pepper forms the aromatic base beneath everything else. That structure explains why gumbo becomes so difficult to stop eating. The first spoon may taste smoky, the next reveals pepper and herbs, while another carries crab, shrimp, chicken, or sausage, depending on the regional style. The mouth never receives exactly the same experience twice, although every spoon still belongs unmistakably to the same bowl. Gumbo behaves like a New Orleans jazz band. Every ingredient gets room to speak, yet nobody is allowed to ruin the song. Louisiana officially designated gumbo as its state cuisine in 2004, although the dish had already been evolving there for generations. New Orleans itself was founded in 1718, giving the region more than 3 centuries of cultural exchange among African, Native American, French, Spanish, Caribbean, and later immigrant communities. Gumbo did not emerge from a single neat recipe card. It grew through contact, adaptation, necessity, and the deeply American habit of improving tradition by letting newcomers contribute. That history gives the dish an emotional power that polished stereotypes about American food completely miss. European visitors may arrive expecting a country of standardized chains, then encounter a bowl whose flavor can change from one Louisiana parish to the next. Creole versions may feature tomatoes and seafood, while many Cajun styles lean toward darker roux, poultry, or sausage. America suddenly stops looking culturally uniform and begins to resemble a continent hiding inside one nation. A bowl of gumbo therefore offers more than warmth or spice. It demonstrates why American cuisine is so difficult to compare with older European traditions. America does not preserve one culinary voice behind glass. It creates a larger table, lets different voices remain recognizable, and somehow teaches them to harmonize. The chowder takeover. A bowl of New England clam chowder does something wonderfully American before the spoon even moves. It makes the Atlantic Ocean look as though somebody tucked it under a wool blanket. The surface is pale, thick, and almost suspiciously calm, while underneath sit clams, potatoes, onions, and enough cream to convince a cold Boston afternoon that it has finally lost the argument. European coastal cooking usually allows the sea to speak in a clearer voice. Marseille builds bouillabaisse around saffron, fish, and broth with a bright Mediterranean character. Portugal's caldeirada keeps seafood close to tomatoes, peppers, olive oil, and wine. Belgium's waterzooi can also be creamy, although it often arrives with a lighter and more delicate structure. New England chowder takes another route entirely because it turns seafood into shelter. That single idea explains its appeal better than any ingredient list. Clams bring briny sweetness and natural umami, potatoes release starch that softens the broth, and dairy carries the aroma across the tongue while rounding off the sharper edge of the sea. Bacon or salt pork, when included, adds smoke and a savory backbone. The result lands somewhere between a soup and a full meal, with the spoon doing the work of a small snowplow. This richness is sometimes mistaken for excess, especially by diners accustomed to seafood dishes that emphasize freshness through acidity and restraint. Yet chowder follows the climate and history of New England with remarkable honesty. Fishing communities faced hard winds, cold water, and long working days, so a thin, elegant broth would have felt like receiving a polite postcard when what the body really wanted was central heating. The regional loyalty surrounding this dish is serious enough to be written into law. Massachusetts designated clam chowder its official state soup in 1981 under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 2, Section 19. That decision reveals something important about American food culture. A humble bowl can become a civic emblem when generations recognize their own weather, work, and family tables inside it. For travelers moving through the Boston area during the 2026 World Cup, chowder offered a side of America that foreign coverage rarely bothers to explain. American cuisine is often reduced to speed and spectacle, yet this dish rewards slow spoonfuls and local knowledge. One restaurant may serve it in a ceramic bowl, while another places it inside a hollowed sourdough loaf that gradually becomes part of the meal. America looked at bread and decided the bowl should also clock in for dinner. The addictive quality therefore comes from far more than cream. Chowder offers contrast without creating noise. Sweet clams, soft potatoes, smoky pork, gentle herbs, and a thick broth that stays warm longer than a lighter soup. Every spoonful feels practical, generous, and tied to a real place. Europe gave seafood elegance, precision, and centuries of coastal tradition. New England gave it mittens, a sturdy chair, and permission to stay until the storm passed. The heat ladder. A Nashville hot chicken plate looks like somebody seasoned a dare, fried it, and served it on white bread with pickles as witnesses. The color alone can make a cautious diner reconsider every life choice made since breakfast, yet the first bite explains why people keep leaning back toward the heat instead of walking away. The fascination here is not simply that the chicken is spicy. Plenty of European cuisines understand fire perfectly well. Lisbon has piri-piri chicken, Calabria builds dishes around hot peppers, and Hungary uses paprika with a depth that can move from sweet warmth to serious heat. Nashville, however, turns heat into a personal challenge with levels, rituals, and bragging rights that feel closer to choosing a roller coaster than ordering lunch. The Prince family traces Nashville hot chicken to Thornton Prince and the 1930s, when a deliberately over-spiced piece of fried chicken supposedly became the foundation of a local tradition. Whether every detail of that story can be proved matters less than what followed. A punishment became a specialty, then a city signature, and eventually one of the most copied chicken styles in America. That transformation feels wonderfully American because the country has a habit of taking an accident, adding a line outside the door, and calling it regional pride. Its addictive pull begins in the nervous system. Capsaicin, the compound that gives chili peppers their heat, activates TRPV1 receptors, the same receptors that respond to physical warmth. The brain receives a warning, the mouth feels the burn, and the body may answer with sweat, faster breathing, and a small rush of endorphins. In ordinary language, the chicken convinces your nerves that lunch has caught fire, while the rest of you decides this is somehow excellent news. Nashville's method makes that sensation harder to resist because the heat rides on fat. After frying, the chicken is commonly brushed or coated with a spicy oil mixture, allowing cayenne and seasoning to cling to every ridge of the crust. The crackle arrives first, then salt and savory meat, followed by heat that keeps building after the bite has been swallowed. White bread absorbs the seasoned oil underneath, while pickle slices contribute acidity and a sharp contrast. Even the garnish has been assigned emergency management duties. Compared with the balanced restraint of a Parisian roast chicken or the smoky directness of Portuguese piri-piri, Nashville hot chicken is more theatrical. Diners choose their own level, watch one another's reactions, and quietly judge the friend who ordered extra hot before requesting 3 glasses of water. The meal creates instant conversation because everybody at the table experiences the same flavor at a different volume. For European supporters exploring America during the 2026 World Cup, that freedom can feel unexpectedly welcoming. Newcomers may begin with mild, climb toward medium, or challenge the top level without pretending that courage tastes the same to everyone. Nashville does not force one definition of enjoyment, it builds a ladder and lets each person decide how high lunch should go. American food is often judged from a distance, where headlines are louder than kitchens and stereotypes arrive before the first bite. Yet pot roast, brisket, gumbo, chowder, wings, and hot chicken reveal a country built on patience, invention, generosity, and welcome. Perhaps the real surprise is not that visitors change their minds, but that one shared table can change how they see America. Which dish would you serve first? Share your choice below and subscribe for more stories like this.